There you go. All right.
Hey, sports fans out there. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome. This is Coach EJ, the brand.
And Coach Aaron, the source. Everyone, welcome. Today starts off our Champions Are Built series. It's a series that we're going to bring people who have been successful in all aspects of sports, and they're just going to share their stories and their experiences. And hopefully there'll be some information, some gems of knowledge that will help you guys in your journey. And today I'd like to introduce one of our guests. It's Andre Ward. He's a world-class athlete, boxer. I'll say this right now. I'm sorry about I'm not good with the intro stuff, but Andre retired with a 32-0 undefeated streak. He was the WBA undisputed IBF and WBO light heavyweight champion. He held the unified WBA super, WBC, ring, and lineal middleweight titles between 2009 2015. Before that, he was a gold medalist at the 2004 Olympics. I mean, you say what you can say it, he's done it. And I've had the pleasure of training this gentleman for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
Through a lot of his fights. And I think this guy's story is an amazing one and something that people should hear. And with further ado, Andre Ward. Our subject, again, Champions Are Built. Andre, looking back on your career, what are some of the things that you think might have helped in building you into the champion that you are today?
I mean, I first of all, I want to say that was a great intro. I haven't had an intro like that since I retired, so it feels good to get those every now and again. I think a few things that jump out to me is the community, the people you have around you, and I know for me, I didn't have a large family, but like my dad, who got me in the sport of boxing. I wanted to, follow in his footsteps. I'd heard he fought. I was actually a baseball player before I boxed. And my dad started telling me about, his boxing stories when he was an amateur. And I'm like, man, you box? I want to box. I want to do what you do. And then Virgil, who, ended up being my godfather, he was my first and only trainer. He came on board maybe a few months later. And those two, helping me outside the ring to stay focused, but also helping me to set goals. I can remember setting goals to be a national champion as a junior, and then being an open senior champion, meaning you turn 17 and now you can face, grown men from all over the country. And that gets you in line to hopefully go for the Olympic trials and then get on the Olympic team. After my first year, after I won my first national title, those goals for us were realistic. So I think community is one, having one person, 2 people, 4 people. You got people that are supporting you, that are pushing in the same direction and trying to help you, people that are honest with you and are willing to tell you the truth. If you're messing up or you're getting off track, I think that's important. But also having goals. You got to be able to see it before you do it, in my opinion. Right. And you got to be able to see it and believe it. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have detractors or people that, try to project their fears on you, because I had that, even family members. And I don't think they meant any harm, but it could be discouraging when you hear family members, saying things like, why, my dad's name was Frank. Frank, why you got these boys, me and my brother, in the sport of boxing? What are you doing? And then he said, look, man, my son's going to be a champion. And he started to name off those goals that I just named. And you could just see the looks on family and just people we knew in the community. I don't know about that. That's Olympics. He's 10 years old. It's easy for people to project on us fears, limitations that they may have, or because maybe they don't have vision enough to see some of your goals, they can say things inadvertently that can discourage people. And I would just encourage people, find the one person, find the 2, 3, 4 people, whoever you have to come around you and help you, to assist you with whatever you're trying to build. But you got to have vision, and you also have to believe it, and just beware that there's going to be some people along the way, even family members, that say things sometimes that could get you off track. You got to try to stay focused.
That's so important. It's something that me and EJ have talked about before. And it's funny because I talk with a lot of young men because I'm a trainer and everything. And those I get close to, one of the things I tell them that's really helped me in my life is I always say find 3 wise men that you can have in your life. And they could be from different walks of life, different levels of success, but find 3 wise men who can help counsel you, bring perspective, encouragement, something that, where they're not vested in it, and can really give you that advice. And it sounds like you actually just kind of fell into that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go out and seek them, but you were lucky enough to have those people in your life. And they helped to propel you to where you are and the successes you had. Now, did you ever feel at any point that you ever wanted to change those people in your life? Because we see it all the time in sports where you have, it could be close family, it could be, somebody who's a trainer for you a long time, and they're not good for the athlete. And I mean, you being an advisor to some of the young and up and coming boxers now, you're kind of filling that role as well. And how do you suggest an athlete navigate that sort of thing? Because some of those relationships are personal.
Yeah. I never felt like, thank God, that I had to change those two, my dad and my godfather. Those are 2 pillars in my life. But along the way, I've had other individuals that were confidants, people that were mentors, that we either outgrew each other or the relationship no longer made sense. And I'm a person that loves hard. It's a hard thing to distance yourself from individuals or even have the tough conversations to say, hey, man, I love you. We're good. But just on this front, we're not going to do this anymore. For me, Thig, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm a man of faith. So I'm a praying man, and I try to pray, and I try to really feel what I'm feeling in my heart and in my spirit, man. And if something's not right, I try to explore why it's not right. I got my wife. Hey, man, what you think about this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? And for those that don't have a wife, you have somebody in your life. Right. Even if it's one person that you could say, this is what I'm dealing with. I just want to get your outside opinion. And there are going to be times. It's not if, I just think it's when you're going to have to make tough decisions. But what's the alternative? Staying in a bad relationship, or even a family member, keeping them around when you just know in your gut, it's not good. It's not beneficial. We're better off being cousins, right, or nephew and uncle than we are being business partners. Or for you, here's the thing. All of us have to be careful on who we allow to speak into our life. That's a privilege. It's not a given. And there are people, family, we'll just talk family right now, or even just close friends, that for a season, some people are there for a season, but they're not supposed to finish the journey in the same position that they started in. And I think it's just kind of knowing that. Seek counsel, man. Are you seeing and feeling? Yeah, I'm seeing and feeling that too. And then being courageous enough to make that decision. And it doesn't have to be a contentious conversation. You can have a smile and say, man, I love you, but I think I got to move in a different direction. That's going to come. You just got to be willing to make that step.
I like that.
Aaron, it's interesting, Andre. It's I'm just listening to what you have to say, and champions are built on the mentality of being strong, not only physically but mentally. And you mentioned about this team of people around you. It's so critical. And I tell all our listeners out there that, hey, listen, this team aspect, they talk about sports teams. You played an individual sport, you box, it's still a team game at the end of the day. You're just out there creating the strategies that you guys have put in place. And I think that's so important what you say about having that group of people around you, but the strength that you have to have and the character you have to be a champion and making those tough decisions are critical. And it seems like you're a man of faith, but you've really have that ingrained in you from the beginning. Where did that start? I mean, that's interesting to me that you have that. And where did that start from, Andre?
I think it's something that was just cultivated over the years. You know, I'm a person that, you know, I was when I was a kid, people knew me as being quiet, but I was always watching. That's just what, if you tell him, hey man, how was Dre as a kid? Man, he was real quiet, but he was always watching. I picked up a lot. I pick up a lot from just watching people and studying people. It's part of what made me a good boxer, studying opponents, you know, and different things like that. But it doesn't just stop there. It's the same thing in life. I mean, me and Thig talk business all the time, you know, and I sit there and I watch him like, man, I've seen Thig go through some storms, you know, like look at this pandemic and having to like restructure your business plan. I've seen him buy buildings, sell build. Like I've seen this stuff and hey man, how are you doing this? What about this? And I pull from that, not just the action, but the courage it took to make the decision. And it's the same thing for me throughout my life. I've had periods with my pastor or, you know, Verge, like I said, or other people that God has had in my life where I've just watched and I've learned and I've picked up on things. Other fighters, I'm like, man, I saw you got a lot of heat for the decision you made. I respect the decision. How'd you get through that, man? It was tough, man. But hey, this is what I did. So I know when my time comes to make a stand, when my time comes to face backlash, hey, man, I talked to this brother and this is how he got through. Man, I'm gonna try to do that too. And you know, one thing people don't talk about, fellas, is when we talk about success or being a champion or being successful, you will not be successful in any field of life if you don't have courage.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes.
It takes courage to buy that building you've been looking at. When you know that, man, if the business starts to get a little shaky, I'm gonna be in trouble. It takes courage to hire people.
Yeah.
And it takes courage to fire people.
Yep.
It takes courage to put signs up in your gym. Hey, this is what you can do. This is what you're not gonna do. Because you inevitably you have somebody call your phone. Why do we have to do this? You know, I don't agree with it. And they may go down the street, but you got to be courageous to say, listen, this is my vision. You're welcome to go down the street, but this is what I want to do. So it's learning, it's picking up on things and being humble enough to do it. Because it's, you know, some aren't always humble enough to glean from other people. But I love pulling from other people. Getting that, and then when my time comes to imitate what I've watched and seen, being courageous enough to take that step.
Now, that brings me to something that I want to ask you about, because one of the things that we've talked about before, and one of the commonalities we've seen in athletes that have been successful over the years, is that in my instance, I've noticed that athletes make that decision early. In other words, they make that decision that this is what I want, what, you know, you can call it being courageous, wanting to be great, whatever it is, they make that decision early and they don't veer from that. When did you make that decision?
I've always been competitive. Like I was a kid that used to get in trouble for taking board games and you know, whatever type of game we played too far, and don't let me lose. Don't let me lose. Don't let me lose. I'm a sore loser. I'm pouting over there in the corner. My face is frowned up. So I've always had the competitiveness.
Yeah.
But I don't think everything was innate.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke about my dad. I spoke about Verge, my godfather. They cultivated over the years a mindset and a mentality. And what I mean is we set those goals, and winning the nationals was the only thing we talked about, not just going and competing. At a certain point, winning a gold medal was all we talked about. And it wasn't, you know, just overconfidence or being arrogant. We set a goal, son, you're going to go here in the 2004 Olympic Games and we're going to get that gold medal. So that mindset just started to be ingrained in me where, hey, man, we set goals, we sacrifice, but this is where we're going to end up. And hey, if you don't end up there because we don't always meet our goals, at least you can live with yourself to know, man, I gave it everything that I had. So it wasn't just the competitiveness and the drive to take the vision and run with it was in me, but the actual mindset and the courage to dream and set goals and to go after them with everything that I had, that was cultivated. That was cultivated.
You know, it's interesting, Aaron, and we say this about, you know, a lot, and what we always talk about is this mindset. And it triggers with champions is a certain mindset they have. And it sounds like Andre, you know, is, you know, we're talking about these champions of life, as I always say, instead of champions of just sport, but champions of life. It's a mindset they have. And Andre seems to have this mindset that you and I have talked about all the time, whether we're training athletes or we're just talking about this is a good person in business, or hey, check this out over here, is that mindset to be the best and keep pressing on and not taking no for an answer, but to keep on striving to be the best. And that's that mindset that you and I talk about a lot.
Oh, excellent. We're going to wrap it up there. I think this was a great start. A couple of key takeaways for me is get those important people around you,
right? And
listen to them, but don't be afraid to let them go when it's not right for you, and have that ecosystem built. And then also tap into the competitive, juices that are on you. I'm the same way. I have a switch that flips on as soon as I'm playing ping pong or somebody says, you can't do that. People have said, hey man, I saw a change in your face, just because we talk about, hey, we play Monopoly. Be cool, kid. So, but I think athletes should embrace that, because we are in a world where, well, why are you so competitive? And, it's everyone should win, all that. And then I don't know, maybe I'm a Neanderthal, or I'm a throwback, but I don't know. That switch still works now.
Yes.
With all this gray hair. And I'm sure, it does with you, man. You're still in the game. You're watching all these guys fight. You hear these stories, but I think that's just part of what makes athletes, and obviously it's part of the makeup of being a champion. EJ.
It does it like when I retired, the drive didn't retire.
Yeah.
The competitiveness didn't retire. Like I'm in business now full time, and like I want to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that I gotta go through the same process I went through the sport. I gotta be humble. I gotta ask questions. I gotta learn. I gotta study. I gotta pay my dues. I gotta be courageous. There's times when I don't want to pick up the phone and call somebody and check on, hey man, I haven't heard from you. Said you're gonna send me those deal points, but I gotta do it.
Yeah.
Or if I gotta press somebody a little bit, like, man, hey, I'm just following back up. I don't really want to follow up, but I gotta do it.
Yeah.
And I just want to end with this. It's one thing to talk about the championship mindset. And I don't want to paint a picture like it's always roses and it's always just, I just feel motivated and great. That's not always it. Like I've had plenty of moments where I've doubted myself. And I've had moments where I didn't have a champion mindset. And the last time I can remember was one of my last losses as an amateur. I was facing a guy named John Revish. I was 15 years old. I was 14, 15-year-old division, and he was 15 and I was 14. And the way that it was set up in amateur boxing is you have 3 rings at the national. So we have our draw, we have our brackets. I know I'm on the opposite side of the bracket. So I would fight, say at 6:00, and I know John Revish is fighting right after me. I'm in ring 1, John Revish is in ring 2. And I'm seeing this guy just knock people out. And I'm like, man, I just want a decision, but he just won a knock. He was he got a knockout. And he's a country boy. So he's a little bit older. And I can remember he intimidated me just a little bit. And I wasn't terrified. I was down to fight, but I was like, So boom, the finals come now. Close fight. I thought I won, but I know why I lost. And I can remember I just let him get to me just this much. And it wasn't anything he did in the ring. He was a good fighter, but I beat myself before I even got to the fight. And I didn't share this with my coaches because that's taboo in boxing. I just dealt with that and fought with that internally leading up to the fight. And I lost the battle ultimately, like internally and then the fight. And I can remember flying home from Lenexa, Kansas, curled up in a ball on a Southwest flight. I had the whole road to myself. And I just remember how I felt and looking at my family's face and my coaches' faces. And I remember I took that moment and it taught me that, listen, you're human, you're going to have moments, but everything that's up in my power from this point on, that's never going to happen again. You're not going to beat me before you fight me. If you beat me, you're going to have to earn it. So if you have bad moments, if you have moments where you're not feeling rah-rah, you're not feeling like a champion, and you didn't pick up the phone, you didn't take that job interview, or maybe you did and you tanked, you got to learn from that. Don't waste that moment, because it doesn't mean you're not a champion. It just means you had a bad moment. Pick up the pieces and rebuild and keep on pressing.
Oh, I love that, man.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
that. The bad moments. I love that. That's
We all
a great
have them,
point. Yeah,
you know?
you're right. We do. And that, coming back from those is what defines us.
Yes.
a lot of
Yes.
times.
Yes.
And learning from those, and you can look back, and that moment actually helped build you.
Mhm.
So it's great.
Yeah.
Andre Ward, thank you so much, man, because brother, I enjoyed listening to you, and I knew that you were, I've seen you hang around Aaron a lot, and I've watched you work out, and I respect you so much as a person, and thank you for coming on our part 1 of our series of
Yeah.
Champions Are Built. So thank you for that.
And I appreciate it, EJ. I appreciate it, Dig, man. Y'all have me back, man. I love to do another one.
Thanks. EJ, sign us off.
Hey, it's Coach EJ, the brand.
Coach Aaron, the source.
See you
We'll
later.
ya.
All right, fellas.